Hello, hoping you all are safe and healthy. From here, we'll go ahead and get into our at-home workout with a nice little warm-up. So starting off, we'll just do 25 jumping jacks. After our 25 jumping jacks, we'll go ahead and go into our arm circles, shooting to do 10 small going in one direction, then 10 big. From there, all we're going to do is just reverse the direction after that. Next exercise we got to warm up, we're just going to do a knee hug to a heel sweep, so we're pulling that knee up to that chest, putting that front leg out nice and straight and sweeping as low as we can from that heel to the toe, shooting to do 10 total. After that, we'll go on to all fours into a tabletop position, and we will do 10 bird dogs, alternating sides as we go. With this, our goal is to keep that core nice and tight, extending through that back leg and that front arm, opposite arm and leg. From there, we got the T-spine rotations, shooting to drive that elbow to the opposite elbow, just opening up that chest and that back. Once we finish up with those, we will just go ahead and stand back up, and we'll shoot to do 25 more jumping jacks just to get the body moving again. So after the warm-up, we'll move into the actual workout itself. For exercises, we'll do active intervals of work and then rest, basically shooting to go through each exercise individually before we move on to the next one. Starting with the push-ups, we want to make sure we keep our core nice and tight, putting our hands directly below those shoulders to make sure everything is also in line. We can go ahead and raise up and come down, and when we come down, we're going to keep those arms nice and close to that body, shooting for a 45-degree angle. So for the easier version, all we gotta do is just add an incline. Any raised surface will do, and we can also even use a wall if we need to. To make it a little bit more challenging, we can go ahead and add ourselves into a decline by putting our feet up on an object, or we can drop down and do a plyometric push-up where we use a little more explosive action and just push ourselves completely off the ground. From there, we'll go into our air squats. Big thing, making sure our feet are about hip width apart when we come down. As we come down, we want to shoot that butt back a little bit first, and then bend at those knees just to make sure everything stays in line, as I sort of point out, just trying to keep that knee in line with it. So for our easier version, we'll be shooting to do a sit to stand squat, so we're really sitting down onto almost a chair and then standing back up. And if we want to add more resistance, we can add a backpack with any heavy object to hold in for resistance, or we can also go straight into a jump squat. From there, the next exercise is going to be a reverse crunch. Big thing we want to focus on, making sure that lower back is nice and tight against the ground, putting those hands by those hips. We're going to pull those legs towards the chest and then kick up towards the air slightly. For our easier version, same exact thing, just bringing the knees to the chest without the kick. And for our harder version, all we're going to do is keep that chest up, but still do that same motion of pulling those knees to the chest. The next exercise we got is a step up, making sure we alternate our legs as we go. When we step up, just making sure everything's in line, driving up off that top leg, stepping up and stepping back down. If we wanted to make it a little bit easier, all we gotta do is just decrease our height. Then if we wanted to make it a little bit harder, all we gotta do is add a little hop at the top of our step. From there, we'll go ahead and move into a tricep dip, making sure we have a nice sturdy surface. We'll put both hands down, extend our legs out, and then from there bend at our elbows to about 90 degrees and drive back up. To make this easier, all we gotta do is move our legs or bend our knees in, and it's the same exact motion. To make it harder, make sure we get two very sturdy chairs so they don't slip out from underneath of us. We will suspend our body weight in between the two, just doing the same motion, bending down to about 90 degrees, pushing back up, just trying to keep our chest nice and high as we do that. For our Russian twist, we want to keep our chest up, keep the core nice and tight. Then we're going to go side to side from the hip to hip. Just trying to keep those legs up the entire time. From there, if we have back problems or we need an easier modification, we can lay onto the ground and do what's called a penguin. So we still engage that core by bringing the shoulder blades up off the ground. We're still going to go side to side, just trying to touch the ankle or the heel on each side. To make it a little bit harder, we can also just grab any weighted object. For me, I still use my backpack. Still shooting to go side to side, making sure we minimize sway with those legs. So next exercise up we have is a hip thrust, just making sure we put our shoulder blades up on the edge of the couch or whatever chair we're going to use, keeping our heels nice and close to our glutes. We'll go ahead and bridge all the way up, let our hips sink down, drive through those heels, keeping these hips as close to the ceiling as we can. For an easier modification, we can drop all the way down onto the floor into a laying down position, still with those heels close to the butt, and raising our hips all the way up to that ceiling, driving through those heels. If we wanted to add a little bit more of a challenge, same thing. Any resistance or weighted object, putting it on top of those hips, getting back in our position, same exact motion, just adding a little bit of weight for resistance. So our next exercise we got will be a lunge. As we come down, we want to make sure we got 90 degrees pretty much through our entire body, so making sure our knee stays in line with our ankle and not stepping up out over those toes. Just want to alternate legs as we go throughout the motion. To make this a little easier, we can do one of two things. We can use the wall to help with balance, still making sure we get that depth, or if the depth is the issue, we can still use that wall, just make sure we don't go down as far, so that he doesn't have to touch the ground. And if we want to make it more challenging, we can go ahead and get into our lunge position, focus on doing lunge jumps, and we still alternate legs. So I know burpees may not be the most fun exercise, but they're absolutely amazing for you. So with our burpee, all we're going to shoot to do is making our hands come down first, hopping back and forth, nice small hop on the top. To make it easier, we can do the same exact motion. All we're going to do is add an inclined surface, just like we do with the push-ups. If we want to make it harder, same thing, but we're actually have that push-up all the way up from the floor. So with the circuit style, basically we should do all of this 3 times through. So the goal is to push ourselves, but we don't want to push ourselves too hard, so if we need to, feel free to take a 1-minute rest in between circuits as needed. And then after we've done all of our circuits, we'll shoot to do a nice little cool down with some static stretching. Starting off, we'll shoot to do a nice little quad pull. If we can and have the balance, feel free to reach at the top. If we need to, feel free to grab a wall and still do that same pull. From there, we'll go into our sitting hamstring stretch, grabbing onto whatever we can to help pull down. After that, we'll go into hip flexor stretch, making sure we push forward onto that front leg to make a nice little stretch to that hip flexor, which I point out right here. And also, we just want to make sure we switch legs with everything, so both legs get a good nice little stretch. So after this, we'll go into the doorway stretch. So with this, all we gotta do is post our arms up onto the doorway and lean in and let the body stretch its sort of stuff out with some gravity. So feel free to vary up the angles of the arms to help get a stretch on the muscles that you feel like need it the most. Once we're done with those, we can go ahead and use the doorway as well to grab onto the side and sort of pull our body across that arm to stretch out the back a little bit more as well. I hope that this video will help you stay or get active while at home in these crazy times. Hopefully you manage to stay safe and healthy, and we'll be back to normal as soon as possible.